The first thing he remembered was the walls. Not that there was anything particularly interesting about them. They were just there, smooth, featureless, white. He couldn't remember how long he'd been in the room, if he'd always been there. There wasn't anything else to see, no windows, no doors, nothing except the walls. And the walls were a problem, because they seemed to have a personal vendetta against him. Sometimes a section would jut out, catching him off guard and making a deep gash in his leg. Other times, gravity would flip and he'd have to desperately scramble for purchase on the ceiling. Then doorways would appear, only to vanish the moment he stepped through. Sometimes the room would decide to simply cease to be, and he'd find himself falling through a void of non-being into an echoing darkness, before it all snapped back into place like a rubber band. He had no idea where he was, why he was there, or how to get out. The only thing he knew was panic. Pure, unadulterated panic and the will to survive. That, and somewhere deep inside him, a tiny ember of curiosity. Why? Why was this happening? What was going on? Those questions, like seeds in the barren soil of his mind, began to grow, slowly taking root. And then he saw it. Another object in the room besides the walls. At first he thought it was just a trick of the light, some trick of the shadows playing across the floor. But as he moved closer, he realized it was an object all right. An old typewriter sat on the far side of the room, its keys yellowed and stained. As he approached it, the keys seemed to glow, beckoning to him with an unnatural light. Hope flared, then died as he reached out and touched the cool metal. It didn't know why he had come. It didn't care. All it knew was that he needed something from it. In a moment of pure desperation, he slammed his fist on the keys, typing furiously, "The walls cannot move." Then he hit enter. The room lurched. The walls righted themselves. Gravity flipped again. He laughed, a sound of pure joy and relief. Was this real? Was he truly capable of this? Of ending the torment that had become his life? He wrote a few more rules. There will be light. There will be food. I am safe. Each time he wrote a rule, it took something out of him. It left him weak, drained. But each time he hit enter, the world responded. He was beginning to understand the typewriter was a tool of creation, a way to shape reality itself. But as he looked down at his shaking hands, he could see something else as well. The ink on the page seemed to writhe, almost alive. It pulsed, throbbed, sometimes it glowed. And then he felt it watching him. Something ancient and evil stirred in the room's furthest corner. It sensed the power he wielded and wanted it for itself. Jonah had no idea what it was, only that it was growing stronger, taking shape. The typewriter seemed to feed it. The more rules he wrote, the more powerful it became. It stretched towards him, tendrils of darkness coiling around his legs. He screamed, backing away. Then he saw the truth. The typewriter wasn't creating reality. It was consuming it, taking something from him. The rules he wrote were transactions. They gave the typewriter something to consume, to feed the darkness. And the darkness was the ink. The parasitic ink that writhed on the page. The thing in the corner was made of that ink. It had been banished from the room by the rules, pushed back into the margins. But now it was seeping out, tendril by tendril, reaching for him. He could see its face now, pale, gaunt, with eyes that burned like hot coals. It spoke, its voice a rasping whisper. "You are mine. Everything you have ever known, everything you are, will be mine." The scribe. He understood now. That was its name. It fed on the transactions, grew stronger with each passing moment, and his only defense was a weapon that was consuming him from the inside out. He could keep writing rules, keep fighting, but that meant the scribe would only grow stronger, more powerful. It would eventually consume him completely. Or he could stop writing, let the scribe claim him, let it rip his soul apart and end his torment. Or he could make one final transaction, one final rule, a meta-rule, a nullification of his own existence. He looked down at the typewriter, then back at the scribe, its form almost entirely filling the room. He understood now. This was the only way. He was sorry, but this was the only way. He leaned down and typed, "I do not exist.